Therapists? Have you ever called the police on a client? I'd been a therapist for 20 years when I met Jacob. Figured I'd seen it all by then. Wrong. Jacob was 41, said he'd been in a car crash 6 months before and couldn't remember much since. Memory loss wasn't unusual. But Jacob was different. He'd sit in my office staring at his hands like they belonged to someone else. First session, he told me about these dreams he kept having. Blood everywhere. Running through dark streets. A woman screaming his name. But he swore he didn't know any women except his landlord. I thought PTSD maybe. Trauma does weird things to memory. So I did what I always do. Asked questions, took notes, stayed professional. Sessions 2 and 3, same thing. Jacob would shake talking about these dreams. Said he'd wake up in cold sweats, afraid of what his hands might have done. I figured it was survivor's guilt from the accident. Then session 4 happened. Jacob walked in with a bloody napkin wrapped around his knuckles. Said he'd punched a wall but couldn't remember why. Just woke up that morning with scraped knuckles and this feeling like he'd done something terrible. That same morning, I'd seen the news. Woman named Beth Torres went missing from Maple Street, 3 blocks from Jacob's apartment. The photo they showed looked exactly like the woman Jacob described from his dreams. Dark hair, small scar on her chin, even wore the same red jacket. I kept my cool. Asked Jacob to describe his dream again. He mentioned details I hadn't heard before. Said the woman always carried this pink lighter, had a butterfly tattoo on her wrist, drove a white Honda. Here's the thing. None of those details had been in the news report. I started paying closer attention to what Jacob said. He'd mention random stuff like the metal door by the river or that broken street light on 4th, places that sounded real, but he claimed were just from dreams. 2 weeks later, another woman disappeared. Jessica Walsh from Pine Avenue. Jacob came in the next day talking about a new dream. Woman with blonde hair screaming in what looked like a storage facility. She had a cross necklace and kept saying, "Please don't." The news report that evening mentioned Jessica's cross necklace, but not on TV. I had to dig online to find that detail. I went back through my notes from the past month, found something that made my stomach drop. Every time Jacob had one of his episodes, a woman had gone missing within days. 3 different cases now, all unsolved. But the real moment I knew was when Jacob mentioned the pink lighter again. Said in his dream, the dark-haired woman dropped it when she was running. I called my buddy Rick, who works at the police station, asked him about the Torres case. He told me they'd found Beth's pink lighter by the river behind the old warehouse district, but they hadn't released that information to the public yet. Said they were keeping it quiet to weed out false confessions. No way Jacob could have dreamed that detail. I didn't sleep for 3 days thinking about what to do. Jacob hadn't technically confessed to anything, said these were just dreams, but the details were too specific, too accurate. I called the ethics board hotline. They said if I genuinely believed someone was in immediate danger, I could contact authorities. Wasn't sure if that applied here, but I couldn't just sit on this. So I called Rick, told him about a client who might know details about the missing women cases. Couldn't give him Jacob's name directly because of confidentiality, but I could share what I'd heard if Jacob was arrested. 2 days later, they picked up Jacob for questioning. Turned out he'd been renting a storage unit under a fake name for the past 8 months. Found Beth's purse inside, Jessica's cross necklace, a pink lighter, bloody clothes, and a hunting knife. Jacob still claimed he didn't remember anything when they arrested him. Said those things weren't his. Maybe the amnesia was real. Maybe it wasn't. Either way, 3 women were dead, and he had their belongings. During the trial, I had to testify about our sessions. My notes helped connect Jacob to all 3 crime scenes. The jury took 40 minutes to convict him. I never took another patient after that. Couldn't shake the feeling that I should have called sooner.